Playing competitive video games for 1 year has taught me more than what school has taught me in 12 years. And I'm here to tell you today exactly what those are. I'm going to go over the top 10 lessons I've learned from playing video games that's taught me way more than school's ever taught me. It's about street smarts, not book smarts here, people. We're going into it today. My name is Sean Haley. I'm a competitive esports athlete, coach, and bodybuilder, all trying to do the same thing at the same time. And I'm here to teach you guys how to do the same thing as well. Let's get into it. Lesson number 1 is that if there are enemies in your path, that means you're probably going the right way. And I don't mean that if you get into fights and you get into arguments and you're super disagreeable, that means you're always in the right direction. No, it's more along the lines of every path that you go down is going to have some level of resistance. If it doesn't have any resistance, it's probably not the right way. And this relates to video games by the fact that if you don't know where to go, the game puts different obstacles in your path. So in Mario, the first thing you run into is a Goomba. It's just like a pretty basic level 1 enemy, whatever, and you stomp them and you keep going. And there's a Koopa, and then there's Bowser, and there's whatever. But down that path, that direction is the level that you want to take. That's the direction you want to take, where there's some resistance. And there's going to be resistance in everything good and valuable that you do. And we know the saying, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And that comes into play here just by, if it's the kind of thing where there's enemies in the way, that's probably the direction that you want to go in a video game. And in real life, if there's a little bit of resistance, let's say, you want to make progress in the gym. It's not easy. There's going to be factors that are limiting you. Maybe you don't have enough money for a membership. Maybe there's no gym near you. Maybe you have to go out of your way to get gym equipment that's maybe for your house. If there's resistance, that means you're going in the right way. And that's lesson number 1. Now, lesson number 2 is a little bit more complicated. And I've learned this when I've been playing competitive Smash Bros. And it is that disadvantage is called disadvantage for a reason. Now, Smash Bros., if you don't know, is a fighting game. It's basically like trying to knock the other person off the platform, all right? If you haven't heard of Smash Bros., then I'm very surprised. But the concept of disadvantage is that when your opponent is beating on you and you're in the corner and it's hard to get out of the corner, it's like a boxing ring, right? You're in the corner, you're getting beat up on. It's called disadvantage. It's a state of gameplay. There's neutral when, both players are equal. There's disadvantage when you're in the disadvantage, when you're at, you're on the back foot. And then there's advantage when you're up on your opponent or you're backing them into the corner. And tip number 2 is that it's called disadvantage for a reason. When I say that, I mean when I coach people and I try to teach them about disadvantage, a lot of the times they will try to, they'll complain or they'll say, oh, what could I have done there? Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's just a rock, paper, scissors for my life to a point. Because if you're trying to get back to center stage from disadvantage, you're going to choose the wrong option a lot of the time. It's called disadvantage for a reason. You're not playing with advantage. You're not up. You're not even neutral. You're down. So when it comes to disadvantage, a lot of the time you're going to pick the wrong option. And it's not always your fault. Yes, you could have done something different, but it's like if you're going to choose an option at random and 66% of the time you're going to lose, it's not always your fault. If you're trying to mix up your options and you try to do something different, you try to do something unexpected, it's called disadvantage for a reason. You're going to pick the wrong option 66% of the time. And this relates to life because sometimes, if you're homeless or, you're going bad in school or your girlfriend broke up with you and you're in a really bad point in your life, then you're at disadvantage. There's no ifs, ands, so's about it. You're at disadvantage. You're going to pick the wrong option probably 66% of the time. You're playing rock, paper, scissors for your life to a point. And that sounds pretty dramatic. That might be an embellishment, but I don't think it is. Truthfully, when you're at low points in your life, it's just like in a game or in a boxing match where you're at a disadvantage. You're on the back foot. And yeah, it's good to kind of expect yourself to choose the right option and always blame yourself and say like, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. But when you're on the back foot, you're probably going to choose the wrong option 66% of the time. And it's not always your fault. You're playing rock, paper, scissors for your life. It's called disadvantage for a reason. So it's important not to get too down on yourself when you're playing from disadvantage and you choose the wrong option and you lose your stock. So that is lesson number 2. It's called disadvantage for a reason. Now, lesson number 3 is to come at the problem from a different angle. And this is pretty obvious. It's pretty simple to just say, oh, just come at it from a different angle. But I've learned this in a very unique way. And again, through competitive Smash Bros., there's a character called Kazuya Mishima. And Kazuya is a busted character. He is extremely good. He is extremely, extremely good. He is very unfair. He will get up in your face. He will get very close range and just wail on you. Like, he is very overpowered. He's invincible in a lot of his attacks. He gets up close and he will just annihilate really any character in the game. It's not even fair, right? But what do we do? Do we run at him head on and try to take him in those close quarter combats? Obviously not. I play Pikachu. I'm able to use my mobility and get around him, shoot projectiles at him, and not play his game. And that's relating to life, because you don't always want to take the same angle. If, let's say you're fighting somebody and they're really good at close quarters in real life, let's say. You're in a boxing match. It's a street fight. It's legal. Let's say your opponent is very short. They're not like me, 6 foot, brown hair, brown eyes, massive strength, but they're super short. So they don't have the range, but they're super close. They're super good at close quarter combat. So that they want to get up on you and, get super close and wail on you. But you're a little bit taller. You're like Shanzo. You got that height. You got that reach. You got the gorilla arm span. And do you think it would be a good idea to be all vindicative and say, oh, I'm going to beat this guy at his own game and get up super close to him and let him wail on you? Hell no. Work to your advantage. If your opponent is super strong close quarters, but you have really good long range, don't try to play his game. Play to your own strengths. Don't try to go up close and try to be like, oh, I'm going to outdo him at his own game. There's ways to work around it. And those ways could be that, say, okay, I'm going to get a tutor to teach me math. I'm not just going to go take the SAT and take the math portion and bomb it, because you suck at math. If you suck at math, find a way around it. Don't just head straight into it. Work it from a different angle. Just like Kazuya, you don't want to take him head on. Do anything else. Do not play to his own strengths. Play to your own strengths and take advantage of that. And that's point number 3. Take the problem from a different angle. Now, another thing I've learned from playing Smash is all of the incredibly diverse people in this world. It's actually insane. I have met people from all over the world, from Japan, from California to Massachusetts to Canada to Wales to Australia. Like, literally people from every corner of the globe play Smash Bros. And what I've learned is that from point number 4 is that everybody has something new to teach you. So what I mean by that is that everybody plays a different character. Obviously, there's 90 characters. Everybody plays somebody different. Some people play Little Mac, some people play Mega Man, some people play Pikachu, some people play Mario. Everybody plays a different character. And you never know when you're going to run up against somebody that plays, let's say, Mega Man. And you go, dang, this Mega Man player just beat me. I wish I had somebody I knew that played Mega Man that could teach me. Oh, I know that guy I met a year and a half ago from Connecticut. I could talk to him. And because you made that connection with those people, you're just kind of the people that you meet. Everybody could have something to teach you at some point. You just don't know when that could be. And eventually it's going to come up. Like, for example, I don't really know any Mario players. I know like 1 or 2 maybe. I know of 1 or 2. And it got to the point where I actually was going to play against a really good Mario player in a competitive scene. And I had to prepare for this. And I went back in my notes and I said, dang, who do I know that plays Mario? And I found somebody and I said, oh, hey, dude, I remember you played Mario. Like, can you give me some tips? He gave me some tips and I did great against that Mario player. It was great. And it only happened because I was able to make those connections. And I know that everybody has something to teach me. Everybody plays a different character. Everybody could teach me something new. I don't know about 95 characters in this game. I know about my character, and then like maybe I'm a little autistic on like Aegis because it's like easy and it's fun to just know everything about a character, right? But the concept is that everybody has something new to teach you, and by making these connections with these people, eventually it's going to come to fruition, and it's always beneficial. And this happens in real life too, where you're in work, obviously like LinkedIn and things like that, where you make these connections with people that you go, oh, like I didn't know you worked at Amgen. Like my dad works at Amgen. Like, oh my gosh, like That's so crazy. We just made this connection. Oh, can you get me a job at Amgen? Yeah, absolutely. So then you make these connections. It's the same thing with different characters. Everybody works in a different place. Everybody has a different skill set. Everybody knows a little bit different topics and a little bit different things. But you're able to make these connections, and your life just improves because you know so many different people. Everybody could teach you something different about their skill set, about their work, about their education, about their job, anything like that. That's why skill number 4 is that everybody is a resource. You can learn something new from every single person that you meet. Rule number 5 is that you need to learn the rules before you break the rules. And this might sound a little bit familiar to some of you, and I learned this through coaching myself. And I learned that when I'm coaching people, everybody has a really similar habit. They'll always try to jump, and this kind of goes back into the other points as well, but everybody tries to jump back on a stage when they're not in the position to do so. So let me break it down a little bit. Basically, when I'm coaching somebody and I'm trying to edge guard them, I'm an advantage. I'm trying to keep them off the stage. A lot of the time, they'll try to skip all the crap where they take it slow. They go back to ledge slow. They grab the ledge. They do their ledge option, and then try to take advantage. They just try to take advantage immediately. So they won't even bother with all the slow small talk. Like all the basically being a good boy, and they'll just try to gambit it all and try to hit me right away and try to get back to neutral when I'm in advantage, and they're not even supposed to. And I try to tell them, I'm like, hey, that's usually not a good idea. You usually want to take it slow. You usually want to play it safe. Don't try to gambit your life away trying to take advantage again when you're not even in the position to really do so. And then I have to take a second and go, well, that's not always the case. Like, obviously, those are the rules. Those are kind of like the unwritten rules of neutral and, disadvantage and neutral play and stuff like that. Usually you want to take it slow, play it safe. And those are the unwritten rules. But every now and then, you want to break the rules. You don't want to do the same thing every time. That's when you get predictable, and I can punish you for playing by the rules. If I know you're going to take it slow and go low every single time because it's usually safer, I'm going to go all in and just kill you for it. Right? But you're playing by the rules. Like, what's wrong with that? That's what you're supposed to do, right? Yes, to an extent. But you need to be able to know the rules, to know that, you should probably usually be going low because it's safer. And then once you know that, then you're allowed to break the rules. And this goes into life too, because let's say, you're not really supposed to, wear red shoes to an interview. Like, that's usually a little bit weird. Like, let's say you're wearing a full business suit and you're wearing these bright red shoes to a job interview that's super serious. That's usually not the right play. But if you know the rules, everybody's wearing black shoes, black suit, black everything, very standard. But you know the rules. That's usually what you do. So everybody's gonna play by the rules. But you want to mix it up a little bit. It's a creative job. It's a creative writing job or something like that, where the interviewee, the person that's conducting the interview, is actually looking for a little bit of creative inspiration or a little bit of creative demonstration type of thing. You may want to wear the red shoes. Shake it up a bit. Break the rules. You know the rules. Everybody's going black shoes, black suit, black whatever. If you shake it up a little bit, wear these bright red shoes, make a statement. You know the rules, so that way you can break them. It's not the same thing every time where, it's always a good idea to follow the rules. But if you didn't know the rules in the first place and you're wearing red shoes to a job interview that's like financial accounting, you're going to get smoked. You're going to get told to leave. But if you know the rules, you'll be able to break them in a better manner. So by breaking the rules, only when you know the rules, you'll have more benefit in your life. Your life will improve. And bringing it back to Smash, you need to know the rules of neutral. You need to say, all right, I know usually this is the right option, but now that I know this rule, I'm going to break it. You have to know the rules before you break the rules, and that is rule number 5. Now, rule number 6 is to not invite chaos into your life. And this is my absolute favorite piece of advice ever. This is top 1. If you take anything from today, it is to not invite chaos into your life. And this is more of a biblical phrase or a biblical kind of way of thinking as well. But apply it to your everyday life, where let's say we'll start at video games. In Smash, when I'm fighting the other guy, I don't want to go all in to an edge guard where I could risk my life. Where I could, they're super deep out there. I'm going to go, all right, screw it. I'm going in. You jump into the deep end and you go for a down air. And if you miss, you die. But if you hit it, oh my gosh, you got it. You're inviting chaos into your life by going for that all-in thing. And it's not something that you need to do. Yeah, it might be cool. It's risky. It's cool. It's weird. Oh my gosh, like it's exciting. But it's inviting chaos in your life. You're putting yourself into an adverse situation because you might get something out of it. Even if it's super low. It's a very low chance, very high risk, high reward. But you're inviting chaos in your life. You're putting yourself in an adverse situation that you don't need to put yourself in. And a lot of the times it ends up bad. And we can relate this to real life by saying, look, when you're working and you're doing, you're trying to get your work done, but your dogs are all around the room and your room's a mess and you've got food and you've got some sodas and you've got TV playing in the background, you're inviting chaos into your life. You don't need to have all that. You should stay focused. You should, be very organized, have this there, that there, everything in a 90-degree angle, everything like that. But when you invite these distractions into your life, like let's say you want to get your work done, but you want to see your friend too, like, oh, hey, Tyler, you should come over, but I'm just going to get some work done before, as you're in the room, like just chilling, playing video games. You didn't need to invite him over before you did your work done. And that's inviting chaos into your life. Do not purposefully make your life harder. You don't need to go out of your way to put on the training weights like Rock Lee. If it's something where you don't need to make it harder, just do the work as it is. Same thing in video games. Don't try to restrain yourself. Don't try to put weights on yourself that you don't need to put on. Same thing if you're upstairs, okay, you're in your room, you're getting work done, and you want to get something to eat. But downstairs, there's all this unhealthy food. There's a cake on the table because, it was your dad's birthday yesterday. So you're going to have to get through, you're going to walk past the cake. You can't take any cake because it doesn't fit in your macros. All right, so we're going to have to get food. We're going to have to walk through the cake. Okay. All right, let's, and then you open the fridge because there's ground chicken in there that's going to be healthy. But when you open the fridge, there's those chocolate-covered strawberries in there that you really want to eat that you bought. The move would just be to not buy them in the first place. Don't invite the chaos into your life of all these hazards. Maybe you can't do anything about the birthday cake, but the idea being don't invite chaos in your life. Don't make your life harder than it has to be just for the sake of it. Make it as easy as possible. That way you can get the most work done. So that's why point number six, is that do not invite chaos into your life. Now, another huge piece of advice that I have found is actually about advice. And it brings me to point number 7 here, is that to not take advice from people that you do not want to be like. Otherwise, only take advice from people that you would like to be like. So, for example, this one's very short and very easy to understand. I've streamlined a way to explain this in the best way possible. Whose advice would you value more? Mark Cuban's advice for how to make $1 billion? Or a homeless man's advice for how to make $1 billion? It's that simple. Let's use another example. Would you rather ask Shanzo, hey Shanzo, how do I get so ripped and jacked like you? Or would you ask Nikado Avocado, or whatever, before he was maybe fit, maybe not, who knows? Would you rather ask Shanzo about fitness advice, or the 400-pound fat guy who's sitting on his couch about fitness advice? It's as simple as that. The guy that's 400 pounds telling you, oh, this is what to do to get a six-pack. You're going to want to blah, blah, blah. Whatever he's going to tell you, you can't take that advice. He would have done it already. If you ask the homeless man how to make $1 million, he's not going to tell you the right thing. Otherwise, he'd have already done it. Ask Mark Cuban. Ask Shanzo. Ask the people who have already done it about what to do. Ask them for advice. Now, if you were to ask me about how to make curry, I wouldn't know. I'm not the person to ask that. I don't know how to make curry. I can't give you advice how to make curry. But if you ask the shop owner how to make curry, he'd probably know. just for an example, right? You would ask me about things like, mental health or fitness or diet or Smash Bros or video games or stuff like that, things that I know about. Just like you wouldn't ask Mark Cuban about how to play Smash Bros better. It's you want to take advice from the people that you want to be like. Take advice from people that actually know how to do the things you're asking advice for. The only exception to this I have found is that you could accept advice from people on what to not do. So, for example, let's say my uncle thrice removed or something, right? Whatever, like whatever random family member. If I asked him about relationship advice and he's on his 6th wife or something like that, or like he's had 13,000 girlfriends and 6 wives and 7 mistresses or whatever, I wouldn't accept his advice on relationships unless if it was, okay, Shanzo, don't do this because I messed up on this. Do not do this. That's the only exception I would say to that rule, is that you can take that advice on what not to do if they messed it up. But if you want to know advice on what to do, or you want to take advice from people, only take advice from people that you want to be like. And that is point number 7. Now, point number 8 is a little bit more philosophical, and it is, that is the game that you play. That's what it is. The quote is, that's the game that you play. And this isn't more of advice. This is a life lesson of the fact that it's sometimes just the game that you play. Life isn't fair. Sometimes you're going to go to school and sometimes you're going to fail some classes. You might fail a test. You might, get a question wrong. When you go to school and you take 100 different classes, odds are you might fail one. You might get a C. You're going to get a question wrong. If you're taking classes with 1,000 questions, let's say you answer 1,000 different questions in class, you're going to get one wrong eventually. That's the game that you play. And this comes into other things too, where relationships especially, if you love a woman with all of your heart and you give her everything that you've ever could give anybody in your life, you might get heartbroken. That's the game that you play. It sucks. It sucks a lot, and that's part of it. It can go into family member relationships too, where, you're in a family. Let's say you've got a mom, a dad, and a brother. Eventually, those people are going to die. You're going to probably watch your parents die. That's the game that you play. And it's not that I chose to be in life, but when you are in life and you love somebody so much, you're playing a risky game. When you choose to be in a relationship, you could get heartbroken. When you marry a woman, you could get heartbroken. You could lose everything you've ever loved. When you drive in a car, you could die. You could get into a car crash. That's the game that you play. And the same thing with video games is that, you play Smash Bros, let's say, and you run into Kazuya, and Kazuya just screws you over. He gets close quarters on you, beats you up, and you die. And it's unfair. Yeah, it's unfair, but that's the game that you play. You chose to play the game. And the same thing when let's say you buy a dog, you love this dog with all of your heart. And deep down though, eventually, you're going to watch that dog die. And it's morbid. It is very difficult to talk about this, but that is the game that you play. And the quote, that's the game that you play, is kind of synonymous with life's not fair, but you chose to play the game. You choose to play a video game, something unfair happens, that's the game that you play. You choose a relationship, you love her for however many amount of years, and you break up, that's the game that you play. You chose to be in that. That's what could happen. That is the game that you play. Lesson number 8. We're going to take a turn from more of the morbid stuff to a little bit more philosophy again. But it is a tip from Daigo Umuhara, and it is that you must do the work for the progress and not the reward. And this is a bit of a tough one to understand because it's kind of weird. Like, what do you mean, do the work for the progress, not the reward? Like, why are you doing the work in the first place, right? It's because if you do the work for the reward, if you don't get the reward, you're going to stop doing the work. So let's take this into Smash Bros. Again, right? If I'm doing the work to be number 1 Rhode Island, right? If I'm working, and I only get number 3 or number 4 or number 2, then very likely I'm going to quit because the work did not get me the reward. I might have been number 10 Rhode Island, and I work so hard. If my goal is number 1, but I only get number 2, I'm going to quit. Even if I don't think I'm going to quit, psychologically, I didn't get number 1. I didn't get what I wanted. So my brain goes, well, why am I doing the work then if I'm not going to get what I want? So you're going to quit. Even if you make all this progress, if I went from number 10 to number 2, but I don't get number 1 because I didn't get my reward, I'm going to quit. And it's not something that I know cognitively, but my brain knows if I don't get the reward, I'm going to quit. Because why do the work if I'm not going to get the reward? So that's why Daigo says to do the work for the progress. Because if you do the work for the progress, you'll never quit. Because if you keep working, you're going to progress. The more time and the more focus you put into something, the more you're going to progress. And if your goal is progression, eventually you're going to hit that arbitrary reward of number 1. If I go from number 10 to number 5 to number 4 to number 3, number 2, and my goal is the progress, you bet I'm going to get number 1. It's that simple. And in life, let's say if your goal is to get a promotion, let's say the goal is the end goal. I want to be the CEO of Amgen. I'm using Amgen. If I want to be the CEO of Amgen, and my goal is the reward of being CEO, and I'm a janitor right now, if I work for 2 years and I only get promoted to some marketing job to be like, some VP or whatever, then I'm probably going to quit because the goal wasn't progress. The goal was to become CEO. But my brain goes, I'm not CEO yet. Screw this, bro. I'm not doing the work. But if your goal is the progress and you start from janitor to then whatever, like desk manager or, marketing manager and then team manager, project manager to VP to then CEO, you're going to make that. You're going to make that progress. If your goal is the progress, you will get the progress. And progress is a lot easier to get than just the end goal of top 1 or CEO or president or stuff like that. So that's why lesson number 9 is to do the work for the progress, not the end goal. The goal should be the progress, not the very end. And finally, lesson number 10. You guys have heard me say this before. Life is a dice roll. You just got to roll that dice a hell of a lot more than everybody else. And the quote's kind of self-explanatory. And this is a Shanzo original. I heard something similar to it many, many years ago. I've looked it up. I couldn't find the OC, the OG, whatever, the penman, but it's a Shanzo original. I quoted it. All right. Life is a dice roll. Okay. No matter what you do in life, there's going to be some random chance. I don't know if this video is going to blow up. I don't know if I'm going to make it to the job that I want. I don't know if I'm going to make $1 billion. I don't know if I'm going to make top 1 Rhode Island. I don't know. I'm not certain of anything. I don't know what's going to happen with my life. All right. Life is a dice roll. But you just got to roll that dice a hell of a lot more than everybody else. Because right now, everybody else is going, oh, there's a chance I get this job. I'm going to apply to this one job. All right, let's roll the dice. Roll. Oh, I didn't get the D20. I didn't get the outcome that I wanted. And then they stop rolling the dice. Let's say if you wanted to get the girl you wanted and you go approach this girl and, you try your best, but you stumble on your words and she goes, ew, what? You rolled the dice. Womp womp. Didn't work. What do? You give up and take back the dice and go, all right, I'm done. No. If you have a 1% chance of making $1 billion, but you get to roll the dice as much as you want. Like, I'm 21. I've got plenty of time, I hope. If you've got a dice and the odds are incredibly low that you make it, if I want to make a business and I want this business to be $1 billion idea, am I just going to try once? Am I going to think of one idea, roll with it and go, if this doesn't work, then screw that? No. You get to roll the dice as much as you want. People don't realize that, where it literally doesn't matter. The outcome of your life If you roll the dice once, you're going to get a crap outcome. Let's say there's a 1% chance of you getting your favorable outcome, and you roll the dice. You need 100 to get the right outcome. You roll a 79, then a 32, then a 1, then an 18, then a 37. You go, oh, this is stupid. I'm not doing this. You just got to keep rolling the dice. Roll the dice a hell of a lot more than everybody else. Everything is random, but you have literally infinite retries. Obviously, this doesn't come to like, oh, I really hope I make this parkour run, and then you trip and die. Like, no. But in terms of like businesses or, social circles or relationships or stuff like that, you literally have infinite attempts. If you don't make it on the first one, you don't make it on the second one. Like, that makes total sense. Why would you make it on the first or second attempt on a relationship or a social circle or a job or school or anything like that? Like, that doesn't make sense. How could you hit the 1% chance on the first try? Keep rolling the dice. And in video games, you can honestly go into D&D, Dungeons and Dragons more so, where life is a dice roll. Literally, life is a dice roll. Every single decision you make in Dungeons and Dragons, if you know what that is, basically a tabletop game where you roll a dice and you go, oh, did I make that decision right? Yes or no? Okay. Usually higher numbers are good, lower numbers are bad. So in Dungeons and Dragons, if you roll a D20 first try, it's like, oh, great, but you're probably not going to roll the 1 in 20 chance to get the 20 the very first shot. You're going to roll the dice, and then sometimes it's not going to be good. But you keep rolling the dice. You don't stop rolling the dice. That's why lesson number 10 I've learned from video games is that life is a dice roll. You just got to roll the dice a hell of a lot more than everybody else. And that is the final tip. Now, if you found anything of value today, make sure to like and subscribe, all the YouTube algorithm and stuff. Throw a comment. What was your favorite tip? What was your favorite lesson? Stuff like that. And if you like what you saw, also, if you're serious about self-improvement and stuff for that, for gaming and fitness and gaming, I've got everything you would need right down in the top link in the description. It is going to be a 15 to 20 hour video course. I'm making it right now. It's going to be freaking incredible. Absolutely everything you would need. Autistic levels of advice from going from nothing to going like me. I've got my jacket on right now, but believe me, check out my other pictures. Check out my profile picture. I'm a ripped icon here. It's that simple, okay? Top link in the description. Everything you'd ever need for fitness and gaming, starting from square one to absolute Shanzo ripped Chad energy. I got you. All right, top link in the description. Click it up. If you want to support me even further, I got my socials in the description as well. You can click those up. Hit me up there. And remember, guys, life is a dice roll. You just got to roll the dice a hell of a lot more than everybody else. And I will see you guys in the next video. See you there.